on ratios and proportions. We'll be looking at solving proportions with variables, and that a proportion is two ratios that are set equivalent to each other. So a ratio, very similar to a fraction, looks like a fraction, but it uses division to compare two quantities. If you recall, back in middle school, you used that for some of your scale models when you were looking at converting something from smaller to larger or from larger to small. There are three ways to write a ratio. We can write it as A to B, so using that colon. You can also write the words A to B, or you can use the fraction bar A over B. Ratios are read, the ratio of A to B, no matter which way it's written. And then the proportion is what we'll be looking at today. A proportion is when we have two ratios set equal to each other. And you can see that example here in the box. And notice it gives you that little statement that the denominators cannot be equal to 0 because then that's undefined. So solving a proportion. Solve a proportion, we're going to use the cross product. So the cross product is the product of the numerator of one ratio and the denominator of the other. Cross products of proportions are always equal. So looking here in this cloud, you'll see our cross product property, and that we're taking the numerator of one fraction and timesing it by the denominator of the other. That's our A times D. And then doing the denominator of the other times the numerator, and that gives us our B times C. So here's example 1. This is similar to what you did in middle school. This was the type of problem you did in middle school. You would do your little cross multiply and do x times 6, which gives us 6x. Remember, we always write the number first. Equals, and then 8 times 15 is 120. And then we would divide by 6 to solve the equation. And we end up getting x is equal to 20. And you can always plug that in to see if those would be equivalent. We are not trying to figure out what x is without using algebra. We're going to use the algebra and do the cross product property. Let's take a look at some more examples. What about a problem like number 2? Now you might say number 2 is not a proportion, but really any number can be written as a fraction. So I would just rewrite that left side as 4 over 1, and then I can use my cross product property. I can take 4 times the quantity of x minus 3 equals 8 times 1. And there I'm showing every step. I never want you to do that distributing in your head. Always write that out. Now this, you could have done in your head. After we have cross multiplied, we're going to then solve our equation, just like we learned already earlier in the unit. So we'll distribute that 4x minus 12 is equal to 8. And then we can just continue solving our equation. Plus 12 plus 12. 4x is equal to 20. Divide by 4. And x is equal to 5. Number 3, we're going to get a little bit more complicated now. Still cross products. We're taking 6 times n plus 10 equals 5 times n minus 2. Now we have to distribute on both sides, which is what we covered last class, looking at variables on both sides. Now I'm going to distribute 6n plus 60 is equal to 5n. Cancels out over here. 1n plus 60 equals a negative 10. And then I'll minus 60 from both sides. And I get 1n is equal to negative 7. So just using that cross product, then distributing, don't do that distributing in your head, and then solving your equation. Let's go to the back of our notes. Now you have some examples to do. You have 4 to do. You need to just raise your hand when you're done and I'll check.